Hey everyone, it's me, Bren, living and growing in Zone 5B, Ohio. Are you busy cooking up from your home garden harvest or all the fresh local grown goodies from farmers market this time of year? I know me and my family are busy enjoying things like zucchini, arugula, carrots, radishes, beets, and tomatoes are on their way. With all this produce, you know there is some waste that will be great added back into the garden as compost. In today's presentation, we get to connect with Glenn of Postmodern Compostable Food Scrap Disposable System. Say that 10 times. I just received one of their postmodern starter kits, and I'm anxious to talk with them today about this product. You are going to love this. I love this. My family loves this. I'm so excited to dive right in. So here is my conversation with Glenn at Postmodern. I believe we're live. Hey Glenn, how you doing this morning?
I'm great, thank you.
I almost caught myself. It's morning. It's really morning where you're at because you're out west, aren't you?
Yeah, in Seattle, thank you very much.
Beautiful part of the country out there. And I'm really excited to talk to you. You have a really cool product being introduced in a few days here, right?
We do postmodern compost system.
Love it.
It's going live on Indiegogo in this next week, and we're basically raising funds to help ship our first container of product to the United States. We've been prototyping and testing it, and we're really excited to get into retail stores and to garden ambassadors and advocates first and
Great.
foremost as a testing and getting the word out as an opportunity for us.
Well, I'm excited. I have to tell our audience that I actually got your starter kit in the mail a couple of days ago, and we opened it right up. And actually, my whole family is excited about it because, we're used to, growing up with grandma, or even myself when we're canning and things, you just have like a little container you don't use too often sitting in the corner of your sink, and we load up our, food
Yep.
scraps in there. And this is really pretty. So first of all, let's talk about you. Tell me your name.
Yeah, so I'm Glenn Geisendorfer. I represent Postmodern. It's a group comprised of Gabe Goldman, Greg Batch, and myself, the three Gs. And we're basically three environmentalist gardeners and designers. We actually own a Seattle-based design company in Seattle called Platform, and we've launched products for big brands like Nike, Coca-Cola, and Starbucks for many, many years. And Postmodern was the first time we actually decided to take the chance and do one for ourselves. As a business, we're always professing to clients to how to do the right thing and always look for a better, more powerful way of doing it.
Mhm.
Um, it's so when we're sketching this many, many years ago and ideating and finally getting around to doing it for ourselves, it's really been satisfying to have a case study, a real product that represents that philosophy. Let's do the right thing and make it better. And then just personally, it's been really fun to see how much people appreciate it and get exciting about something like compost.
Yeah, no, I love it. This is ideal for everybody, really. I mean, homeowners, apartment, wherever, because everybody eats, and you always have compost, right?
Well, that's right. In Seattle, it's in Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco, cities
Mhm.
on the West Coast, it's regulated by their cities. So it's a
Oh,
requirement. It has been for about 10 years in Seattle. So most kitchen um, or homeowners in kitchens are have to basically do something with their food waste. And the common method is to have this tin bucket on the countertop with leaky bags and replaceable charcoal filters. It's messy, it's ugly, it's all these other things. But really, when it comes down to it, Americans generally we discard about 130 billion pounds of food every year.
wow.
And they say that studies have shown that by estimated 40% of food that Americans buy ends up in the landfills.
Mm,
So over a third of every landfill is full of food waste unnecessarily. So obviously, beyond creating methane gas and contributing to climate change, we can basically reduce this impact greatly by just eating more of what we buy, but
mhm.
diverting that which is left into a more proper way of recycling it.
Sure.
So, and we found that when you make it rather than having the stinky, messy sort of countertop solution, if you make it easier and cleaner and more convenient for people, people actually compost more, whether it's regulated by their city or not. So we're it's part of the cause of basically reclaiming food waste from the landfill And so far, I think it's working certainly in our areas. It's resonating with a lot of folks that are gardeners and landscaping advocates. But even in areas like in the Midwest, where it might not be so regulated, but where people have a heart for gardening and such, we're finding that it's resonating and people are actually enjoying the process more than they might have thought initially.
Wow. I didn't realize that it was mandatory in some cities to compost like that.
It really is. Yeah, but jumping ahead here perhaps, but the really idea didn't come from the mandate. It
Mhm.
was my business partner, Gabe Goldman, was in a Chipotle like 9 years ago and was discarding his food trays, which were compostable at the time, but the plastic lid wasn't, the to-go lid wasn't, neither
Mhm.
was the utensils. They were plastic at the time, they're HDPE, they weren't biodegradable PLA at the time. And he thought it was strange that I have to separate all my stuff, as in a restaurant setting and get in the way and queue and hold up lines and such to discard my food. Wouldn't it be easier if everything were made of this material and I could just dump it at once? So that was the real core of the idea, is that just let's make it easier and more sustainable. But when Gabe brought the idea to me, I thought, well, that's one big step, that's one big improvement, but really the obstacle is this idea of convenience and cleanliness in the kitchen environment. We were composting at the time using the bags, and I don't know if a lot of folks use those bags, but they don't necessarily work. You have to tie
Mhm.
them off. You have lesser volume. You stuff stuff into your container. They break. They leak. It they're stinky and undesirable, and they're actually anaerobic in at landfill.
Yeah.
So those stack up. The air will not penetrate the area, and like newspapers will often be found in landfills 100 years later. So do these bio bags. So we thought, well, if we can design the thing that makes it much more convenient for people in their kitchen to get it out to the curb or their backyard more conveniently, but most importantly, but if we can help it accelerate and or improve the idea of composting, we've done two better. So,
Right.
so the design actually is it's trapezoidal. It's got a lot of angles and a lot of air pockets and so forth, so that when it's dumped into an environment, airs are already circulating around the product and helping improve the process.
Wow. That's pretty cool. It's and when you look at the product, I mean it's really simple. It's not you make it sound kind of complicated.
Well, composting is, and people don't
You're
give it enough
right.
credit. Yeah, it really is. And as we grow and as we see it and observe it in gardens, we really want to see and hear how it works in people's own environments, as custom as they can be. They said ideal compost pile is 50 pounds of material or better. You have to maintain a certain temperature and you have to fork it, every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes, yeah.
We're hoping that you don't have to fork it as often, that it
Mhm.
can maintain that compost as long as it's damp and you get all those like good little beasties doing their work, and this hopefully accelerates that. And so we're interested as it grows to hear from people how it works in their very, very specific environments.
Right. You're pretty good at that. I have to ask, do you garden? You sound like you know a little bit about what's going on out there.
We do garden. We're all gardeners. And in college, I put myself through school as a draftsman. I was an architecture student, putting myself through school drafting for a landscape architect who happened to own a nursery as a side business. So when business was slow in the drafting table, I'd go out and I'd repot roses and prune, fruit trees, and spent a lot of time. That was my favorite part of the job, actually. So imprinted on me this care and stewardship for the environment and the importance of materials, even though they're artificial in nature, how beneficial they are to the natural environment. But the old owner many years ago had a really great program where when he sold cut Christmas tree, and this is 25 years ago, he would give a small little conifer as a gift and a beautiful little Christmas in return to recover the tree that they took from the environment. And I thought, what a great business model. One for one. This is decades before Tom's footwear and all the others got on board.
Right. That is really cool.
Yeah, super
Very
fun.
cool. So, I was going to ask you, why is it important to compost the kitchen waste?
Well, it is very important because as you know, that 40% of the landfill is often food waste, and that's unnecessary, and that you know, poses all sorts of problems to methane production and global climate change, as well as rodents and all sorts of things that you don't want to attract into those areas. There's also some things that like Republic Services here in the Pacific Northwest actually has a falconer who they've had to bring in eagles and hawks to
Oh, wow.
basically feed on all the rodents that are on the
Oh,
sinks
wow.
unnecessarily. Yeah,
Yikes.
uh, but it's important to do it, but it's also just simply the right thing.
Hmm.
Rather than let it go down to the disposal, rather than let it just go into the trash, if you can simply divert it. When I was a kid, we'd bury it or we'd dig a hole in the back garden, and we'd the kids would
Hmm.
schlep out compost
Yep.
every couple hours out in the garden, and they'd
Yep.
dig a new foxhole, and that's how we do it. And but it's really the right thing. It's just so unnecessarily wasted that if we can't eat it to begin with, let's make better use of it and turn it into something more beneficial. In where it is regulated in cities like our own, we work with a partner. Cedar Grove is our composting facility here for the Seattle metropolitan area,
Hmm.
and they actually convert all their composting material into purchasable products. So if you go into local Home Depot or Lowe's, there'll be Cedar Grove branded bark mulch, Cedar Grove branded compost. They actually turn it so that you're actually buying back the material that you wasted. It's a really great business model, but
Hmm.
there's so much more that can be done with what we regard right now as simply waste.
Right. I love that. So I'm really excited. I'm actually holding the product right now, and I'm hoping we can talk a little bit about this. It's very cool. It's when you get the starter kit, you get three little compostable caddies, right?
Yep.
And you got the little hanger here, which, by the way, the minute I got this, we were already playing with it under the sink.
That's great.
It
Yes.
works great. So
Good, good.
you don't have to have it sitting on your counter, but you can, and I would if I needed to. Um,
Yeah, the hang so the hanger
mhm,
is a simple wire hanger that hangs within the kitchen lid
mhm.
and tucks away out of sight, out of smell, so that when you're at the kitchen and you're wanting to throw food down the garbage disposal,
Right,
simply
right,
open the door and there it is available to you easily. You don't have to lift or horse the material around,
right.
dripping, across your countertop. It's right there, conveniently placed. If it doesn't fit within your countertop, which it might not, because counters or cabinets are quite different across the country,
Right.
it was designed to look good on your countertop, better than the alternatives, as well as perhaps hang on the outside of your kitchen cabinet door where it's just as convenient. But we
Nice.
we designed it with a lid. We wanted it hinged so it was one-handed operation, but we couldn't manufacture that. It was
Yeah.
impossible to do so. But the lid, working with our manufacturer, was we designed it so that it has a vacuum seal when closed.
Yes.
So there's a depression ring around the circumference of the lid and a bubble in the middle that when pressed down on it, it actually creates a vacuum.
Hmm.
So not only does it is it out of sight and largely closed and sealed within your environment, even as the product is bending and starting to warp, it maintains a seal. So further reducing the amount of smell that most people are most afraid of when having composting in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's nice. Actually, I've seen a lot of these, and ended up resorting back to just a little bucket or a container I don't use.
Yep.
But this is nice. It really does it. I've never seen that where the lid fits right on, and that's nice. Very cool.
Yeah, we and it was designed to hold water. It's we've emulsified, or we've
Hmm.
it's impregnated with a natural wax, and
Hmm.
and what that does is that gives it enough water retention to hold 1.25 gallons of water for 24 hours
Wow.
before it starts to break and seal. So it's meant to break down. So it's a balancing act. How long can it hold water in a kitchen environment, and then how fast can it break down in your garden?
Hmm.
So we think we've found the perfect blend of convenience in home and compostability in the garden setting. So what that means is that it's pretty durable, more durable than you may think. for
Mm-hmm.
something like this as disposable. So we have customers often using this 3 or 4 times before they actually discard it into their compost pile, which is a
Nice.
great benefit. So it's not as expensive a proposition as you might think if you look at it up front. You can
Mm-hmm.
actually reuse it quite a lot of times. But no hot tea bags or scalding water that will melt right through the bottom of the
Okay,
thing.
that's
If
good
you,
to know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so, okay, so maybe you can help me out here then. So I'm really good at filling these things. We like to eat and cook things up, right?
Yeah, sure.
And okay, so I have a full, say I've used it a couple of times. Um, what will I do with this? Like, do I just set the whole container out in the garden or what do you do?
Yeah, well, for us, if we don't put it in our compost bin,
Mm-hmm.
which we have in the back of our house,
Okay.
it's for cities like in Seattle, San Francisco, and Portland, it goes right into your curbside bin. So there's a separate curbside bin for food waste and lawn
Hmm.
refuse. It goes in right with all that other stuff, and it's accepted for use in our city, and it's incorporated into that waste stream. For home users without either of those systems, the best way to do it is to either have a compost bin in home or a garden where it can be buried within the soil of the garden, much as it was when I was a kid in the foxhole.
Okay.
In fact, it will break down much quicker if it's buried directly into soil.
Okay.
Although the benefits of composting, that is the time, the little beasties and the food particles and all those things that they create, are kind of magical. You don't get the if you just simply bury it, it's the amount, the accumulation of food matter
Mm-hmm.
that really matters. So if you can accumulate
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 or these or more in a place where there's enough heat at the core, allow it
Mm-hmm.
to degrade a lot of the materials and so forth, that would be optimal. So you can bury it, you can put it in a bin, or you can pitch it in your curbside container.
I love it. That's simple.
It is. We hope so.
Yeah, no, very cool. So, you guys are actually you're launching this soon here, right?
Right. Indiegogo next week, and we have a container of product on its way. And really, what we're trying to do is use that not necessarily as fundraising, but as a means of getting some pre-orders, gauge the level of interest, but get
Mm-hmm.
the word out. Get the word out
Mm-hmm.
as quickly as we can for a lot of folks. That happens this next week. Product will be shipping in August. It's at that time, about 2 weeks after Indiegogo folks get preferred
Mm-hmm.
shipments, it's going to be live in retail stores in the Pacific Northwest. So Bartell Drugs, it's a local chain like Long's
Mm-hmm.
Pharmacy of about 80 stores here in Seattle metro area. It'll be going to select thriftways and natural markets along the West Coast the
Wow.
following month in September.
Very cool. This is exciting. So, how can our listeners find you guys? Like, where can they order this product? Do you have a website?
We do. It's postmodern.is. IS is in Sam. And you can follow us there, or you can go into our Facebook page. It's Postmodern Home, all one word, and look there for updates. Like us there if when we get refills, which is the next shipment that we're coming in after our first container, which
Mm-hmm.
we're really anxious to get that in because people are already asking about refills.
Yeah.
That's the best place on our Facebook page to get updates on when those are tracking, and we're offering special incentives and little bonuses for those folks that are on our Facebook page that are anxiously waiting in line.
Very cool. This is so exciting. Thank you so much for talking to me this afternoon, Glenn.
Of course, and appreciate the time, and thank you all for getting us a better treatment of the environment, getting this food waste out of the landfill.
Be sure to click on over to postmodern.is. They have a link there to the Facebook page where you will find the latest shares and special offers you won't want to miss, as Glenn had mentioned in this presentation. And as always, stop over to my website at brenhaas.com, where you will find this presentation featuring links to the sites we mentioned, videos, and of course, cool images featuring this product and more. Until next time, I want to invite you to join us on Garden Chat. Type hashtag Garden Chat into Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google, Pinterest, and connect with others who are excited to share about growing. Thank you all.